NetEase, the company behind Marvel Rivals, is causing quite a stir online with the announcement that Season 3.5 of the popular hero shooter will include a feature that automatically records all voice chat happening during the game in order to crack down on what the company considers to be toxic behavior online. Now, this isn't the first time that NetEase has kind of found themselves in the crosshairs of people who are advocates of free speech. But before we get into all that, if you're new to the channel here, make sure you click that subscribe button. And if you can, maybe leave a comment and hit that like button too, because it really helps out with the channel. So I have this article pulled up right here with the headline: NetEase will record all voice chat in Marvel Rivals to crack down on toxicity. And as I said before, this isn't the first time that NetEase has found themselves in opposition for people who are advocates of free speech. If you recall, back in December, some people found out that you can't say certain terms in the group chat on Marvel Rivals if it goes against what the Chinese Communist Party wants, because for people who don't know, NetEase is a Chinese company. And for companies to operate in China, they have to abide by certain party rules. And one of them is you can't mention the physical resemblance between Winnie the Pooh and their president Xi Jinping, or you can't mention things like Uyghur Muslims or Tibet or anything of that nature. So a lot of people didn't like that NetEase was censoring that sort of stuff in the group chat, and now it looks like we're seeing a little bit more of that censorship for the company. NetEase's Marvel Rivals has brought hero shooters back on the map. The 6v6 hero shooter has managed to capture the heart of millions of players with explosive gameplay and original Marvel characters. While Marvel Rivals is adored by fans all around the world, there's an unfortunate issue that has been hindering the enjoyment of the game for many players. This unfortunate issue is the use of in-game voice chat for toxicity. Now, I think there are some people who are upset about this sort of thing happening online, but I think the vast majority of gamers don't care one way or the other, or if they were to have to choose between clamping down on free speech versus having just a free-for-all in the voice chat, I think more people than not, even younger demographics who didn't necessarily grow up with Call of Duty lobbies, would probably advocate for just letting people say what they want. And if people don't like it, well, then that's their prerogative. They don't have to play the game if it's really that bad for them. There have been countless reports of toxicity over the game's in-game voice chat, especially towards women and young children playing the game. Now, I've heard this before many times, and pretty much anytime it's brought up that there's a toxicity in voice chats and they say it's always targeting women and children, I don't think that's true, or at least if it is true, the evidence is shaky at best. I think basically a lot of this stuff happens both ways. The only difference is men are less likely to care about it or less likely to report any issue with it. Women and young children are the ones who are more likely to take offense to it, and that's why people think it's more of an issue targeting them, when I think it's just basically the game is too intense for them, and that's why they're the ones complaining about it. To counter all forms of toxicity, NetEase has decided to record all in-game voice chat in Marvel Rivals to crack down on toxicity after Season 3.5 updates go live. All in-game voice chat in Marvel Rivals will now be recorded, and the idea behind this is that if someone complains about another player, someone at NetEase can actually pull back up the recordings of it and hear what's going on there. And if they decide that, yeah, what this person was saying was overboard or crossing the line, then that person can receive some type of penalty, either get their voice chat disabled or maybe even get banned or get a suspension or something like that. So in a way, there is some good to be had when it comes to this sort of thing, because in the past, people could just report other players if they don't like them. And a lot of times these companies, fearing any repercussions or any negativity, just decided to err on like, okay, fine, if someone gets reported or if they get reported a few times, then we'll just ban them or suspend them or do something of that matter. At least this way, there is a requirement that they have to have evidence that they said something wrong or did something wrong in order for there to be a punishment. But still, I don't like the idea about having the company be responsible or taking the responsibility. I mean, first of all, I don't think it's good on the company's part to try to involve themselves with this sort of thing and saying that we're going to be the harbingers of, or we're going to be like kind of the referees of all this. Now, if you recall, this is kind of a different subject, but also along the same vein, the ESRB ratings for games. Companies didn't want government oversight within the gaming industry, requiring like certain rating systems. So they decided to create their own rating system that they abide by. So now when games are created, you get the rating that says like what's in the game and what audience it's suited for. But for some games, which is like the example I have pulled up, when they have a lot of online activity on there with other players, it says online interactions not rated by the ESRB. And to me, that seems like a good balance right there, where the company is creating a game saying like, this is the intended audience for this game. This example I have pulled up right here, it's rated E10 plus. So for everyone 10 and older can play this game. At least the content that we created is for this audience. But if you're playing online with voice chat, we're not responsible for what people are saying online, because how could you be responsible for what random people online are saying? So they're just trying to wash their hands of all this. And, you know, I think that's a good balance right there be had with it. It's like, okay, fine. If you're willing to play it online, you're kind of accepting that you might hear people say some stuff that you don't like. And I think that's fine. I think it's actually good, especially for competitive games like Marvel Rivals that have that sort of uncertainty or have those high tempers flaring, because that's part of the experience. I mean, I grew up with that experience in the early days of Xbox Live and stuff like that, where there was like no moderation on that whatsoever. I mean, people talk about the old Call of Duty lobbies for a reason, because those were very much the Wild West when it comes to these sort of things, where you'd hear some of the worst things imaginable on there. And a lot of people were probably watching my video now and asking like, so you want to have more of that in the gaming industry? And I'm not saying I necessarily want that sort of thing, but I am saying hearing that and being exposed to that just kind of makes you grow numb to it, to the point where people can say whatever they want about you and you just don't care. I mean, I get a lot of comments on my videos talking like some of the more negative stuff I see on my videos now is nowhere near as bad as what I used to get called in the Call of Duty lobbies. And I just don't care. It's, if anything, it's just kind of funny. And maybe you could say that's because YouTube moderates it. And it's like, okay, fine. But I mean, I also get emails and things like that too. People saying horrendous stuff to me. And to me, it's just kind of funny when people go out of their way to send me a message just to tell me how much they hate me. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't care anything about you. So, and I think a lot of that has to deal with the fact that I grew up with this sort of thing, so it just doesn't bother me. Now, are there some people out there who are so thin-skinned where they can't handle this type of stuff? Yeah, sure. And does that mean it should be in every game out there online where people are exposed to this sort of thing if they just want to sit down with the game and have a good time? No, I don't think they should have to be exposed to that if they don't necessarily want to. I think what we should do, instead of having this voice recording feature kind of operating as a nanny state, because let's be honest, what ultimately happens with this sort of thing when they implement it, where it's going to get to the point where at least it starts off like, okay, you can't use like certain racial slurs and other slurs and things like that. It's like, fine, I get that. And a lot of people will be like, all this is going to do is stop that stuff. And it's like, okay, fine. But then they just kind of, as time goes on, people will start self-censoring, and then the insults kind of, at least what gets hit, kind of becomes less and less, to the point where you can't really say anything negative towards anyone else, because you'll get your account hit as a result of all that sort of thing. So ultimately, this is just going to create a cycle of self-censorship that snowballs into the point where you can't really even say anything potentially negative. And at that point, you might as well just have like certain features where it just allows like a few terms that you can say, just like at the end of the game, just like you can just hit a button, it says GG, and that's pretty much it. I don't know if it's going to necessarily go that far anytime soon, but that's kind of where this sort of thing goes to. What I think a better alternative would basically be what the old Call of Duty lobbies did. You could have selections, or at least on Xbox Live, you can select it to be like, what kind of rooms do you want? Do you want rooms that people are more conversational, more chatty, more trash talky, or more quiet? I mean, you can pick your poison in that way. So the person who's playing it has the option to do what they want to do. Now, if people are saying like, no, I want to have a really chatty group, but I don't want to have people negative, it's like, okay, I think at that point, maybe you're asking a little bit too much, or maybe you could have a little bit more of a selection where people can choose what type of rooms that they want. I mean, I think that's the best way to go about this. Give people more options, as opposed to just having a one-size-fits-all solution that I think ultimately no one will be happy with, except for maybe just like a few fringe people out there who just can't handle any type of criticism whatsoever. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button, because I post daily videos on this channel. And if you can, maybe hit the like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.